Matters Radio Network.
Breast cancer touches millions of lives. Hi, this is Candy O'Terry inviting you to join me on Tuesday evening, October 15th at Newton Wellesley Hospital for their free conversation series. Hear from leading experts, radiation oncologist Theodore Hong, breast surgeon Michelle Specht, and nursing officer Jane Keefe. That's Tuesday, October 15th at Newton Wellesley Hospital. Register today. NWHevents at partners.org. That's NWHevents at partners.org.
This is Tucker Silva with the Financial Exchange Show, and I'm joined today by estate planning attorney Todd Lutsky, a partner with the law firm of Cushing & Dolan with a master's in taxation. And today we're talking about choosing beneficiaries for your IRA. Todd, what is the best way to deal with qualified retirement plan assets, and can they be transferred to these irrevocable Medicaid trusts?
So this is a tough asset in general. When you're dealing with retirement plan assets, it's difficult from an estate planning standpoint or a Medicaid planning standpoint to deal with them. Why? Because they have both an income tax component and an estate tax component, right? They're taxable when you take them out, and when you die, they're subject to your estate tax. So the general way to do this would be, one, you can name the spouse as the beneficiary of the IRA, or you can name the kids the beneficiary of the IRA, or sometimes you can name the trust the beneficiary or the estate the beneficiary. But it all depends on the size of your estate, the size of the IRA. But the one thing you really can't do is you can't take the asset and transfer it to the irrevocable trust or revocable trust while you're living. Otherwise, it will create a income taxable event. So tough to plan for those in advance unless you name the estate the beneficiary.
Educate yourself about the estate planning process. Request your free copy of Todd's brand new guide called Why Name Your Estate an IRA Beneficiary right now by calling 866-848-5699. That's 848-5699, or you can request a copy from their website, legalexchangeshow.com.
The proceeding was paid for, and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing and Armstrong do not endorse each other and are not affiliated. Every single day, more than 2,000 U.S. companies face a cyber threat or attack. The Boston Red Sox in Fenway Park chose Centripetal as their official cyber network security partner to ensure the protection of their network and ballpark. Intelligence is the answer to protecting your network, and Centripetal is the global leader of intelligence-powered cybersecurity. The choice is yours. Are you going to be another one of those attacked companies? Or are you ready to experience a radical new cybersecurity solution? Find out why the Red Sox chose Centripetal at www.centripetal.ai.
This Veterans Day weekend, help honor all who have served this country. Join us on Saturday, November 9th for the 9th Annual Disabled American Veterans 5K Boston, proudly presented by Veterans Development Corporation. It's a run and walk to support the DAV Department of Massachusetts. Saturday, November 9th at DCR's Castle Island in South Boston. Let's honor all who have sacrificed for our freedom. Register or donate now at dav5k.boston. That's dav5k.boston.
We are the Debt Destroyer Network. Any debt you have, credit card, tax, student loan debt, call now for free information that helps you destroy your debt. It's great advice. Plus, when you make this free call now, we have Debt Destroyer experts ready to help. They can show you how to destroy your debt and get your life back on track. Debt problems don't have to be overwhelming. You can live stress-free and debt-free. Credit cards, medical bills, IRS tax problems, even student loan debt. Learn about free programs offered by the credit card companies, hospitals, and even the government that can help slash your debt. Call the Debt Destroyer now for free information. Call now. 800-430-8804. 800-430-8804. 800-430-8804. Again, that's 800-430-8804.
As a busy mom, my to-do list is full.
While we can't add more hours to the day, we do have a great resource to help.
Go Red for Women has information to help you and your family live a healthier life.
Visit goredforwomen.org/momlife today.
This is Todd Lutsky, President of the Milton Institute. Today, we're talking about choosing beneficiaries for your IRA. This is a tough asset in general. When you're dealing with retirement plan assets, it's difficult from an estate planning standpoint or a Medicaid planning standpoint to deal with them. Why? Because they have both an income tax component and an estate tax component. So the general way to do this would be, one, you can name the spouse as the beneficiary of the IRA, or you can name the kids the beneficiary of the IRA, or sometimes you can name the trust the beneficiary. But it all depends on the size of your estate, the size of the IRA. But the one thing you really can't do is you can't take the asset and transfer it to the irrevocable trust or revocable trust while you're living. Otherwise, it will create a income taxable event. So tough to plan for those in advance unless you name the estate the beneficiary.
The Financial Exchange is produced by Money Matters Radio and is hosted by employees of the Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. All opinions expressed are solely those of the hosts, do not reflect the opinions of Armstrong Advisory or anyone else. Investments can lose money. This program does not offer any specific financial or investment advice. Please consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong Advisory and the advertisers heard on this program do not endorse each other or their services. Armstrong and Money Matters Radio do not compensate each other for referrals and are not affiliated. This is the Financial Exchange with Chuck Zodda and Marc Fandetti. Your exclusive look at business and financial news affecting your day, your city, your world. Stay informed and up to date about economic and market trends, plus breaking business news every day. The Financial Exchange is a proud partner of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. Help us support our great American heroes by visiting DAV5K.Boston and making a donation today. The DAV 5K Boston is presented by Veterans Development Corporation. This is the Financial Exchange with Chuck Zodda and Marc Fandetti.
Midweek here on the Financial Exchange. It's Chuck, Mark, and Tucker with you. And our top story today is Hurricane Milton continuing to bear down on the west coast of Florida and the potential economic impact. Obviously, look, we can talk at a personal level just how horrible this is likely going to be for a number of people on the west coast of Florida. But our show focuses on the business impact. So we're, clearly going to leave our thoughts and prayers with the people that are down there, either stuck down there or who have chosen to ride out the storm. And certainly we hope for the best and that things, are again, as there's as little disruption as possible is basically what we're hoping for. But this is going to be a tough one. But in a story from Barron's this morning, we have some further proof that, hey, a lot of times if you want to get the update on what's coming down the road, just listen to the Financial Exchange a couple weeks before, and you'll have Barron's articles a couple weeks in advance, because this is all about, hey, the October jobs report is going to be impacted by Hurricane Helene and now by Hurricane Milton. And we've been talking about this for a couple weeks, where the data collection period for the October jobs report is October 6th through 12th. And so already, look, you've got Helene, where if you know anyone in the mountains of the Carolinas, I've got a couple folks that are in the Asheville area. I know someone else down in Greenville, South Carolina. And, they're still trying to figure out how to get power and water on a consistent basis to these areas. You are not going to get accurate counts of jobs there very clearly. And now with Milton making landfall right in the middle of this period, you've got two storms that are going to be completely disruptive to the October jobs data, probably the November jobs data as well. And so I'm now at the point where, in order to kind of get, an accurate picture of jobs from the jobs report, you're probably looking at the December, January, and February jobs data, which means we might not actually know what the jobs market really looks like, at least from the government jobs data, until March.
Yeah, it's a good reminder, Chuck, that you should always look at long-term smoothed averages of this stuff. This is just an extreme example of how even the littlest blip, and this is far from a little blip, but even a little disruption to somebody's life can interfere with the accuracy with which you complete a survey, the timeliness with which you submit that survey to the authorities that they're trying to collect the data. Imagine trying to, as an employer, when your business is, and we've all experienced this here in what are we, Southern New England, Middle New England, whatever we call this little slice of heaven we occupy. We've all experienced floods
Middle
in the past.
New England is a term I've never heard before, but I like it.
It sounds a little like Tolkien, something Tolkien would invent.
I'm from Middle Earth, and I'm here to help you with your spells.
I'm from Middle New England. Get the hell out of my way.
I bring economics to you, good people of Earth.
Okay, you fruitcake wizard.
Anyways,
yeah, so those of us in Middle New England have experienced this in the past couple decades. We all know somebody with a business that's been flooded. We saw it happen along the Connecticut River, right? That was earlier this year.
You talk to anyone up in like the Vermont and New Hampshire region in the last 2 years, and they've had all kinds of flooding up there.
So imagine those employers trying to complete it, or a household who gets the household survey. I've never actually known anyone that does, but they allegedly survey under 20,000 households every month.
I would love to get surveyed.
Yeah, I know you would. I kind of would,
it's
too.
It's the one survey. You always have one of those calls where, you're on the phone with someone. Hey, please fill out a brief survey afterwards. No, click. I'm not going to do that. This is if the Bureau of Labor Statistics actually called me.
Oh, they would rue the day they called you. Okay, Mr. Zodda, thank you. That's really all we needed.
No, but
let
me tell you about how many hours I worked on Tuesday,
yeah,
just
right.
so you know.
No.
But yeah, this is going to be hugely disruptive to survey collection.
Yeah,
And so you're going to have, probably a significant drop just in, the percentage of respondents that are actually getting their surveys back. On top of that, the ones that are returning them might be indicating things that are different from how they normally would, because there are some people who might say, look, I've had to file for unemployment because the place that I work was destroyed by, flooding in North Carolina, and so I'm on unemployment temporarily. And I'm hoping to get my job back in a month or two. But these are the things that are going to make it really hard to determine, not just over, again, 1 month, because remember, you then have to deal with the resolution of these impacts going forward. So, as an example, if someone says, hey, I'm marking myself as temporarily unemployed, well, when they get that job back, because the place is fixed up and it reopens, they now say, okay, I know that they don't survey the same people over and over, but they still target, same geographic areas who are likely going through the same things. And so as such, you might have something where, look, the October jobs report, I don't know, it could show anywhere from 200,000 jobs created to 200,000 jobs lost, and I wouldn't be surprised. That's how wide I think the band is at this point.
Yeah, we sometimes talk about those error bands because it is a sample. We will be testing the limits probably of those in the upcoming samples, yeah.
But then in the subsequent months, in November and December, you might end up with, hey, look, there's 350 or 400,000 jobs created because a bunch of people who previously said they were unemployed are now saying that they're working, and that throws off.
You have seen that
all of this as well. I mean,
previous disasters.
It's something that you have to pay attention to, and so you might not have any meaningful signal from the jobs report for the rest of the year, for the remainder of the fourth quarter. It could be something where you're just, well, we don't know if this means anything, and we're going to have to rely on other indicators for the next few months in order to figure out what's going on. I did make the point, Mark, that one of the things that we will be getting this month that will, give us a little bit more information than if this had been happening, a month before or a month after, is we're going right into the middle of earnings season. And so we're going to be hearing from companies directly about what they're seeing in the broader economy and how they're adjusting their earnings projections and things like that. And so I do think that can at least give us some clarity in the short term, not on the overall state of the economy, but remember, with the market, the reason why we care about the economy is because it feeds into how stocks potentially perform in terms of the overall amount of economic growth. Well, if you're hearing right from the companies, it kind of cuts out the middleman a little bit. I know they always try to sell you on whatever, but look, it still is something where, because you're going to be getting this earnings data at the same time that we are lacking jobs data, doesn't make up for it, but at least, helps to cover some of that, I think.
Yeah, there could be more attention paid to firsthand accounts as a result of this, to clarify, to confirm or disconfirm some of the unusually noisy, so to speak, signals that we're getting from what we know will be highly imperfect surveys.
In terms of the potential damage to the West Florida coast, and even look through, inland, where they're expected to get 12 to 18 inches of rain all along I-4 in that area, the projections that we are seeing, according to Jeffries, is that you could see in the worst case scenarios potentially $175 billion in insurance losses, and somewhere, conservatively in the $50 to $70 billion range. So this is, likely going to be one of the most expensive storms ever to go through that area. Not through that area, through, anywhere in the United States. And as such, for a region that is already beset by the problem of, hey, we've got insurers that are either pulling out of the area or jacking premiums through the roof in order to cover massive losses from the last several years, this is not going to make the problem any better for homeowners that are trying to figure out how they can get insurance throughout Florida and the Southeast.
Yeah, I mean, not my area, but sure, hard to argue with that. I'm thinking more about impact on, to your earlier point, statistics like GDP. We talked about unemployment, but not GDP per se.
Yeah.
And there's no obvious immediate impact because GDP measures the flow of goods and services. It'll capture the response to that. It'll capture any immediate recovery efforts or decrease in production. Thank God there's no it seems a little crass to point it out because human lives are at stake, but it's not going to hit a manufacturing center or a major port, which could cause major supply disruptions and hit the economy with an inflationary and a production shock at the same time. That would be bad news for our fight against inflation. But as far as the impacts on the micro residential market, yeah, it's hard to argue that there'll be anything but totally devastating.
Yeah, it's something where the short-term impacts are probably pretty significantly negative. Longer term, you get all those relief funds that end up flowing through there eventually, but that's a process that can take years to fully play out.
It does, yeah,
in terms of, all of the rebuilding that you end up doing. Let's take a quick break here. When we come back, let's talk a little bit about the Google as it's more commonly referred to. DOJ saying, hey, here's what we think should happen as a result of you being found guilty of anti-competitive practices. We'll cover that when we return.
The Financial Exchange streams live on YouTube. Like our page and stay up to date on breaking business news all morning long. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Last year, we introduced you to Marc Vaughter, CEO of Veterans Development Corporation. Marc is a career military man, and we're proud to have him back as the presenting sponsor of the 2024 DAV 5K Boston.
I'm a proud partner of the Disabled American Veterans, Department of Massachusetts. The DAV does incredible work, and it was one of the first organizations I became familiar with after my military service ended in 1984. As I built my company, Veterans Development Corporation, I did it knowing that I'd be giving back to fellow vets who need jobs, support services, medical supplies, and much more. I work with disabled veterans every day and is one of the key reasons why I'm such a big supporter of Dan Stack and the Disabled American Veterans, Department of Massachusetts, in this year's DAV 5K Boston. Please join me in supporting this tremendous cause by taking part in this year's event or by making a donation to the DAV.
Veterans Development Corporation is proud to be the presenting sponsor of this year's DAV 5K, taking place on Saturday, November 9th at Fort Independence in South Boston. To register for this year's race, visit dav5k.boston.
Naming your estate the beneficiary of an IRA or life insurance policy can offer significant benefits to your overall planning. Cushing & Dolan's new monthly guide will help you understand why beneficiary designations are a critically important part of your estate plan, especially if you want your assets to be distributed efficiently and protected from probate or the nursing home. They can also reduce the possibility of creating any income tax issues on your required minimum distributions. Call Cushing & Dolan right now at 866-848-5699 and ask for their new guide called Why Name Your Estate an IRA Beneficiary. There's nothing more important than protecting your assets and providing lifelong comfort for your family. Call today at 866-848-5699. That number again is 866-848-5699. Or you can request the guide online at LegalExchangeShow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated.
To fully maximize your Social Security benefits, it's important to understand how Social Security may affect your taxes. Hi, this is Mike Armstrong from the Armstrong Advisory Group, and when deciding to collect Social Security benefits, it's essential to consider how those benefits interact with your other income sources, your tax situation, and your long-term financial goals. As an example, if you have tax-free or after-tax options in retirement, you can structure your financial plan to manage your future tax burden. Collecting Social Security too early without careful planning could limit your ability to manage taxes later in life. Our new free guide is called Social Security and Taxes, and it unpacks these issues and more. Get your free copy today by calling 800-393-4001. That's 800-393-4001.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services.
Hey, listen, are you a 50-year-old person looking for term life insurance? Then you need to talk to Bob. Bob specializes in helping people find $1 million or more of term life insurance for a couple of $100 a month. Look, you need to know there's a price war in the term life insurance business, and you may be paying too much. Call Bob, and he'll shop and see how much money he can save you. Look, this could be the last term life insurance policy you ever have. Your rates are guaranteed for the next 20 years. That's right, guaranteed level rates for the next 20 years. And if you're a smoker or your health is not perfect, Bob has great rates for you too. So for $1 million of term life insurance coverage for a couple of $100 a month, call Bob right now. 800-965-7987. 800-965-7987. 800-965-7987. That's 800-965-7987. Paid for by Term Direct.
Miss any of the show? The Financial Exchange Show podcast is available on Apple, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Hit the subscribe button and leave us a 5-star review. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
This segment of the Financial Exchange is brought to you in part by the U.S. Virgin Islands Department of Tourism. The U.S. Virgin Islands are St. Croix, St. Thomas, and St. John. Summer's over, so now's the time to start looking at a fabulous holiday vacation, and there's no better place than the U.S. Virgin Islands. Enjoy perfect weather, world-class dining, incredible beaches, and a vibrant nightlife. No passport is needed, and there's no money to exchange. Take your next vacation in America's Caribbean paradise, the United States Virgin Islands. Go to visitusvi.com to book your trip. That's visitusvi.com.
Mark, is Google your search engine of choice?
Always, yes.
Tucker, what about you?
Yeah.
Either of you ever use anything else?
Nope.
Try anything else?
Tried Bing. It's okay.
You Bing something.
I tried DuckDuckGo just out of curiosity, and
if you're saying it in the past, did Mark Binged something, or did he bonged something?
Binged.
Bing bong?
Binged.
Yeah. You can't bong something.
No.
That's different.
No, that's very different.
Got it. Anyways, Google. The DOJ yesterday put forth a filing basically outlining the remedies that they are proposing for Google being found guilty of anti-competitive practices. And I'll quote here from the Wall Street Journal. The filing said the government is considering a full range of tools to restore competition, including structural changes to Google's business that would prevent it from using products such as its Chrome browser or Android operating system to advantage Google's engine search. Google responded in a blog post, of course they did it in a blog post, that the Justice Department's initial proposal for reforming the search engine market is radical and sweeping. It could have negative unintended consequences for American innovation and America's consumers. Let's talk about this just a little bit, because if there's one place where I think it's hard to make a case that Google is not a monopoly, it's in search, where they control just a huge amount of the market. And in such circumstances, you could actually make a case that radical and sweeping change is exactly what is needed in order to restore competition so that you can get the innovation that has kind of been lacking in search. I mean, when we talk about search engines, the reason why Google is the most popular search engine, by the way, is because they actually competed and they won back in the early 2000s. They weren't the first company to do search. Y'all out there, you remember Alta Vista and Lycos and Ask Jeeves and, I mean, even freaking Yahoo, which is still floating around as, just a shell of what it used to be. These were the big names in search in the 90s and early 2000s. And then Google said, no, we've got a better algorithm that helps you find the information that you want. And people chose it. It wasn't that they were forced upon it. That's what Google did after in order to keep people there by, paying Apple $16 billion a year to be the default search engine and stuff like that. But people chose Google. Let's not lose sight of the fact that the reason why Google's in the place it is today is because people really liked it in the early 2000s.
Yeah, I guess the argument is they used the profits from that to secure an unfair advantage on certain platforms relative to competitors, and thus became a monopoly. Right? Is that it in a nutshell?
And I think look at your experience with Google now, and how often do you put something into Google and you're like, this isn't giving me what I want. These aren't the answers that I'm looking for on this. And
are you being facetious? You find that happens more frequently?
I do.
You are.
I find that I get all kinds of AI created crap that gets returned in the top 3 search results now.
Yeah.
Where, and granted, it's not for important stuff. It's for dumb stuff. I'm like, oh, what do the lyrics of this song mean? And I just get the top article is like, AI, well, this song is important because it's important. And it's like, well, what the heck is this? Like, this is just stupid.
So they've already been found to be a monopoly, right? That's in the past. We're not going to be able to undo that.
I don't know what the appeal process is on that.
I think I think that is a finding of fact, and that is that responsibility resides with lower courts. I think higher courts will determine whether or not the remedy was too severe. Like if the judge in this case in charge says break it up.
Sure.
Which is, I guess, the most severe thing you can do, which is what the government wants. Will that fix the problem that you cited?
So I don't know. And it's like it's tough to figure out. You think about why Google has the power that it does, and it's just it's so normalized as just what you do for search. I mean, again, you say I'm going to Google something. You don't say I'm going to search for something online. You literally say I'm going to Google it.
I'm with you, but it's detractors. I don't agree with them, but this is the argument. It was apparently successful back in August when they deemed it to be a monopoly, is that they secured that advantage through unfair, anti-competitive means, paying off Apple, paying off others to be the default. You and I probably would have chosen it anyway, or at least I would have, but that's the argument.
So here, and again, I've suggested this before for Amazon, and I know that I'll say this and people will be like, well, what does that even mean? I think it would be really, really interesting to break up Google's search business based on geography.
Chuck, what does that even mean?
Thank you, Mark. I'm glad you asked.
Hold on, let me Google it.
Here's what I mean by this. I'm not saying, okay, if you want to Google something about New England that you have to go to like the New England search engine. But what I am saying is, look, Google knows where its revenue comes from and where its users come from. Break it up based on the geography of that so that you have, I don't know, 8 to 10 Googles, mini Googles, baby Googles, just like the baby bells, back in the 80s.
That's what we did with Standard Oil and AT&T.
Do that, and then look. Hey, you guys can compete to expand your territory and try to attract users from other places, and we'll see who ends up being the best one, and you'll have to improve your product to do so.
Unlike with AT&T and Standard Oil, you can't segment the customers by geography, so how would you prevent me from hitting...
I can, though, because I know where the revenue is...
But can you prevent me from... I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I can't prevent you from going somewhere else, but this is what I'm saying is, hey, one of those is going to then have to innovate in order to be the best one. Otherwise, you'll just keep using whatever one you're using before, and okay, you've got 10 Googles, so it's Google New England, Google Southeast, Google Midwest, and so on and so forth. And those companies are going to have to compete against each other in order to build the best product to see who wins all that market share. And in doing so, you also open it up to additional competition that's smaller, that now is on the same scale as these smaller mini Googles. And I just think it would be interesting to see what happens there and how it plays out.
I guess the other remedy is, if they don't go with a rather, it seems pretty draconian to me, the actual breakup, is force them to share enough so that others can compete. That's being contemplated as well.
Which, if you're going to do that, you might as well just turn them into a regulated utility, and it's like, okay, what are we doing here then? Then you're definitely not getting any innovation. That feels worse to me,
I don't know. I would try your solution because we don't know.
Yeah, look, the worst thing that happens is, well, everything, but I don't know. This is why I'm not a regulator. But I think...
Oh, they're winging it too, Chuck. Let's not pretend they have any... Go ahead.
It's true. Let's just get some more competition in the space. Quick break, Wall Street Watch and Ask Todd are next.
Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter @TFE Show. Breaking business news is always first, right here on the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Let's talk LDL. AKA bad cholesterol. The higher your LDL cholesterol, the higher your risk of a heart attack or stroke. Your health matters. Know your number. Talk to your doctor and get your cholesterol checked. And learn how to help lower your LDL bad cholesterol. Because your health is in your hands. Find out more at heart.org/LDL.
Congress is poised to pass a bill to keep AM radio in cars. But time is running out. 82 million Americans risk losing the news, sports, talk, traffic, and vital emergency information they rely on. Text AM to 52886 and tell Congress to pass this bill now.
Message and data rates may apply. You may receive up to 4 messages a month, and you may text STOP to stop.
This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters.
Naming your estate the beneficiary of an IRA or life insurance policy can offer significant benefits to your overall planning. Cushing & Dolan's new monthly guide will help you understand why beneficiary designations are a critically important part of your estate plan, especially if you want your assets to be distributed efficiently and protected from probate or the nursing home. They can also reduce the possibility of creating any income tax issues on your required minimum distributions. Call Cushing & Dolan right now at 866-848-5699 and ask for their new guide called Why Name Your Estate an IRA Beneficiary. There's nothing more important than protecting your assets and providing lifelong comfort for your family. Call today at 866-848-5699. That number again is 866-848-5699. Or you can request the guide online at LegalExchangeShow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated. Fall is in full swing. The leaves are changing, the days are getting shorter, and the cold is inching closer. Don't let the prospect of darkness at 4 p.m. get you down, because your next incredible vacation is just a click away. The U.S. Virgin Islands are St. Croix, St. Thomas, and St. John. Enjoy one or all three and experience rich history, world-class cuisine, a wide variety of water sports, and the most pristine beaches anywhere in the world. Go to visitusvi.com and check out the American Caribbean, where you'll find all the information you need to book a trip you'll never forget. Upon arrival, you'll fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands. Travel to and from New England is simple, and your stay will be hassle-free because this is the American Caribbean. There's no passport required and no money to exchange. Whether it's a romantic getaway or a family vacation, make your plans now to get out of the cold and head to America's Caribbean paradise. Go to visitusvi.com and book your trip of a lifetime today. That's visitusvi.com.
Hi, this is Chuck and Mike from the Armstrong Advisory Group, and we have a guide this month titled Social Security and Taxes. Mike, first question to ask, how is Social Security taxation determined?
Well, it's dependent on all of your total income that you have in retirement when collecting Social Security. And they include the Social Security benefits in that calculation. But, generally speaking, if your only income is coming from Social Security, very little of it, if any, will actually be taxed when you go to file your return. On the other hand, if you have RMDs, maybe you're still working, you have capital gains, then it's possible that up to 85% could be taxed of your Social Security benefit by the federal government.
And in terms of the tax rate that you would pay on that portion that is taxed, how does that work?
Yeah, pretty simply, it's going to knock up against your regular brackets. And so we have the graduated income tax brackets, and you'll include that in the calculation of your adjusted gross income. Obviously, speak with a tax professional in regard to all of that. But then there's on the state level a bunch of differences too, because some states include Social Security income in taxation, others do not. Some include IRA distributions or pension distributions, others do not in their calculations. And so it gets more granular when you get to the state-to-state level, other than those few states that don't have any income tax.
Our guide this month is titled Social Security and Taxes, and the way to request it is by calling 800-393-4001. There's a whole bunch of this information in there and more that we didn't discuss. Again, this guide is titled Social Security and Taxes, and the number to call to request it is 800-393-4001.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services. Time now for Wall Street Watch. A complete look at what's moving markets so far today, right here on the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Following yesterday's winning day with a strong performance from the tech sector, markets today are trading modestly higher as investors look toward Fed meeting minutes due out this afternoon at 2 o'clock. At the moment, Dow is up by about 0.25% or 84 points. S&P 500 is up by 10 points, and the Nasdaq up another 0.25% as well. Russell 2000 is up nearly 1/3%. 10-year Treasury yield is flat at 4.03%, and crude oil down again today, another 2.5%, trading just below $72 a barrel. Alphabet shares down 1.5% after the Justice Department submitted a court filing yesterday that gave a federal court a range of options, including setting restrictions or ordering a breakup to Google to end what it called an unlawful monopoly in search. Meanwhile, shares in Boeing down by 3% after the plane maker withdrew a pay raise offer it had made to striking factory workers, saying the union made demands far in excess of what can be accepted. Ratings firm S&P yesterday estimated the strikes could cost Boeing $1 billion a month. And miner Rio Tinto agreed to buy Arcadium for $6.7 billion. The deal will make Rio one of the top producers of a key commodity used in batteries for electric vehicles. Rio shares down by 1%, while Arcadium stock is surging by 30%. I'm Tucker Silva, and that's Wall Street Watch.
This is Ask Todd on the Financial Exchange Radio Network. If you have an existing estate plan or are in the market for one, Todd Lutsky is here to answer your questions and help you plan for later life. Ask Todd is presented by Cushing & Dolan, serving Massachusetts and New England for more than 35 years, helping families with estate and tax planning, Medicaid planning, and probate law. Visit CushingDolan.com. Now, here's Todd Lutsky.
And we are now joined by Mr. Todd Lutsky from the law firm of Cushing and Dolan. We call the segment Ask Todd because it's your chance to ask Todd your questions about your estate plan. Phone number here, 888-205-2263. That is the studio line to get in line to ask Todd your questions. Again, normally we can get through 2 to 3 calls, so do get calling because last week we had 4. Fourth person didn't get heard, and it was very, very sad. So we want to make sure that we get to you if possible. Again, 888-205-2263. That is the number to call to speak now with Todd Lutsky. One more time, it is 888-205-2263. Mr. Lutsky, how are you today?
I am never better. How are you doing?
Tough day yesterday.
Yeah, what happened?
Got fired from the pasta factory.
The pasta factory?
Yeah.
Why is that?
Made a few silly mistakes.
Silly mistakes?
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah, it was a tough day, but we're bouncing back. Todd, let's talk a little bit about naming beneficiaries on IRAs specifically.
Yeah, that's a
niche topic, but I think there's some meat in this niche here.
Oh, yeah, a lot of meat.
Historically, the guidance that I've heard on IRAs and naming beneficiaries has been name individuals as beneficiaries on IRAs, don't name trusts or estates. Does that fit with kind of what the historical pattern has been?
Yeah, and I think starting with the historical pattern makes a lot of sense because for a very, very long time, the primary beneficiary rule of thumb, and even today a lot, the primary beneficiary rule of thumb is surviving spouse.
Yep.
So that's what you would go with, generally. And then over time, and it's been going on now for a while, that if you've done your estate plan and you still would name the surviving spouse the primary beneficiary, but your contingent beneficiary might be your family revocable trust. If you want to ensure that the assets ultimately flow through a trust, and when you would do that is if your revocable trust has language in it that says, I want to protect my children from future divorces and future creditors, and maybe they're not great with money or whatever reason you're holding assets in the trust. Remember, when I say assets in the trust, all of your other estate planning assets are in the trust already, but not your IRA. But let's say you have, $1 million IRA. Well, you might not want to say, I've got my trust over here with another couple million in it of assets protected for my kids. I got $1 million IRA not in there. Maybe I don't want to list the kids as the contingent beneficiary because then it will come out to them directly over 10 years. I get it. That's the new rule. But the point is it's coming out to them, not protected, not sheltered from creditors, not, and so if you're saying, you know what, I really want to make sure that those assets find their way to the protection of the trust for the kids, then the contingent beneficiary should be the trust. Okay, so that's been sort of the evolution, and that's for people who've done revocable trust planning, never mind irrevocable trust.
Talking with Todd Lutsky from the law firm of Cushing and Dolan. If you've got a question that you'd like to ask Todd during this segment here, studio line is open at 888-205-2263. That number again is 888-205-2263 in order to chat with Mr. Todd Lutsky. One more time, it's 888-205-2263. Todd, is there anything that you can do in terms of beneficiaries or contingent beneficiaries on IRAs that impacts how they're viewed from a Medicaid perspective, or are you still kind of in a tough spot with that and there's not much you can do?
Well, it is a tough spot generally, but now with the Secure Act 2.0 that I believe came out in about 2022, seemingly getting to be long ago, but you can name the estate the beneficiary, but there's a lot of rules you got to follow. You would generally do it only if you're a married couple, number one, and you'd kind of want to be 73 to do it. And then by naming the estate the beneficiary, which is, remember, as you said, the IRAs are assets I cannot protect in advance from the nursing home generally, but if you qualify, you can name the estate the beneficiary, and then you can protect these assets from nursing homes for the surviving spouse. And the real key is without a 5-year waiting period. Huge.
Talking with Todd Lutsky from the law firm of Cushing and Dolan. Again, if you've got a question for Todd, studio line is open at 888-205-2263. Still have a little bit of open space there on those lines. So please, if you got a question for Todd, this is your chance to ask him that question. Again, 888-205-2263. We're going to go to a quick break here, but it's right to your questions when we return. That number again is 888-205-2263.
Ask Todd with Todd Lutsky every Wednesday at 10:30, only here on the Financial Exchange Radio Network. Fall is in full swing. The leaves are changing, the days are getting shorter, and the cold is inching closer. Don't let the prospect of darkness at 4 p.m. get you down, because your next incredible vacation is just a click away. The U.S. Virgin Islands are St. Croix, St. Thomas, and St. John. Enjoy one or all three and experience rich history, world-class cuisine, a wide variety of water sports, and the most pristine beaches anywhere in the world. Go to visitusvi.com and check out the American Caribbean, where you'll find all the information you need to book a trip you'll never forget. Upon arrival, you'll fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands. Travel to and from New England is simple, and your stay will be hassle-free because this is the American Caribbean. There's no passport required and no money to exchange. Whether it's a romantic getaway or a family vacation, make your plans now to get out of the cold and head to America's Caribbean paradise. Go to visitusvi.com and book your trip of a lifetime today. That's visitusvi.com. Naming your estate the beneficiary of an IRA or life insurance policy can offer significant benefits to your overall planning. Cushing & Dolan's new monthly guide will help you understand why beneficiary designations are a critically important part of your estate plan, especially if you want your assets to be distributed efficiently and protected from probate or the nursing home. They can also reduce the possibility of creating any income tax issues on your required minimum distributions. Call Cushing & Dolan right now at 866-848-5699 and ask for their new guide called Why Name Your Estate an IRA Beneficiary. There's nothing more important than protecting your assets and providing lifelong comfort for your family. Call today at 866-848-5699. That number again is 866-848-5699. Or you can request the guide online at LegalExchangeShow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated.
To fully maximize your Social Security benefits, it's important to understand how Social Security may affect your taxes. Hi, this is Mike Armstrong from the Armstrong Advisory Group, and when deciding to collect Social Security benefits, it's It's essential to consider how those benefits interact with your other income sources, your tax situation, and your long-term financial goals. As an example, if you have tax-free or after-tax options in retirement, you can structure your financial plan to manage your future tax burden. Collecting Social Security too early without careful planning could limit your ability to manage taxes later in life. Our new free guide is called Social Security and Taxes, and it unpacks these issues and more. Get your free copy today by calling 800-393-4001. That's 800-393-4001.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services.
Are you over the age of 50? Want peace of mind and financial security for your family? Here's an important message to you from Senior Care USA. The average funeral now costs over $10,000. That leaves your loved ones the burden of paying your debts and funeral costs. Our plans start as low as $1 per day and will pay your family up to $30,000 to help pay for your funeral and other expenses. There are no medical exams. Your rates will never increase, and your plan cannot be canceled, regardless of your medical conditions, as long as you make your premium payments. Get up to $30,000 in final expense insurance. Call now for free information. Just answer a few simple questions and get approved right over the phone in just a few minutes. Call right now.
Call 800-378-3818. 800-378-3818. 800-378-3818. That's 800-378-3818.
You're listening to Ask Todd with Todd Lutsky on the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
All right, Todd, we got callers lined up for you. Let's get to them with Paul in Sandwich kicking things off. Paul, you're on with Todd Lutsky.
Hey, good morning. How are you?
Good morning.
Can you help me understand, if I set up an irrevocable trust and the beneficiaries are my children who are married, what, God forbid that the marriages don't last, but in this day and age, a lot of marriages don't last. What rights do the spouses or ex-spouses have?
So this is a great question because it applies, and I want to answer it for a lot of listeners. I'm going to expand the answer to include not only irrevocable trust, which is what you asked for, Paul, but revocable trust. So I don't care if you've done revocable trust planning or you've done irrevocable trust planning. I always tell people, sheltering assets for estate taxes and probate avoidance, all that is important, but that's kind of the noise, right? The family behind the estate plan is really why we're doing this. And that is when you pass away, you can actually control the assets as to how they get to the beneficiaries. In this case, protection from future divorces. And so you put language in the document that does that. And basically, in a nutshell, to answer your question is, they will have no right to the assets when the divorce comes. So I'll just tell you how it works. Quickly, you put language in that says, if it said, I divide my assets equally to my kids and I give it to them, well, then you can imagine that 5 years later after you're dead, when the divorce comes, whatever you gave your children is now going to be gone, or is going to be cut in half on a good day, subject to that divorce. And it does happen. By not giving it to them, and I'm going to sort of put the pen back here into the trust bucket and hold it. If you hold it in trust, you put language in there that says things like, your kids can be trustee. Your kids can have the power to appoint a disinterested trustee and even remove and replace the disinterested trustee, so no problem there. But language says that when distributions come out, the only job the disinterested trustee has is to authorize distributions to that kid or to that kid's kids, your grandkids. And so your child as general trustee is doing everything, and the disinterested trustee is doing very little. But, every time the child says, we're going on a family vacation, we're taking a family trip, we need a car, whatever, the disinterested trustee authorizes the distribution. Now the child, 5 years after you're dead, gets a divorce. And the surviving, the soon-to-be ex-spouse says, I want half of what's in that trust we've been taking money out of over the last 5 years. and your child says, that's a really great idea, but you got to ask the disinterested trustee. Oh, see how that works. It's protected. And it's not just protected because the disinterested trustee can say no. Think about it from an ownership perspective. From an ownership perspective, the individual, your child, never owned what's in that trust. So if they don't own it, it's really not a marital asset to begin with. So you simply tell the other side that it's not a marital asset, so, no, it's not available. So really provide some great protection. And that can be in a revocable trust or an irrevocable trust, because remember, once you die, all trusts are irrevocable. Now, folks, speaking of that, that's one way to protect assets. One of the assets that's tough to protect is an IRA, and that's why we're doing a guide. In this case, to go to Paul's situation, by naming the trust the beneficiary of the IRA, the trust, at least then it would be protected from these future divorces that I just discussed. So naming the kid outright might not be the way to go for everyone. In addition, folks that specifically want to add nursing home protection to their estate planning and are married, and there's a lot of other restrictions, you can learn how to name your estate the beneficiary of the IRA, which, as Chuck mentioned earlier, is very much outside the norm. It will allow you to shelter assets for these IRAs from estate taxes. It will allow you to not have any adverse income taxes, and without a 5-year waiting period, can protect it from the nursing home. But you need to couple it with a testament trust. Get the guide, folks. Learn how to do it with your IRA. 866-848-5699 or legalexchangeshow.com. Again, 866-848-5699 or legalexchangeshow.com.
Todd, I've got another caller for you here. Let's go to Jerry in Nahant. Jerry, what is your question for Todd?
My question is, I own a lot of real estate, and everything's in LLCs. So
Good.
Each individual warehouse or buildings I own are in LLCs. So now I'm at 54 years old, and now I got to get a trust, or a revocable trust, some type of trust, a team together that can put this together. Unfortunately, I'm either between $10 million in real estate or over. On the assessed values, I could be up to 10.
Sure.
So I don't know how to, number one, tax defer it, some of the situation that I have, put everything in a trust because I'm at 54 years old now. And
are you married?
60 and 6 years. I'm married. I have 5 kids. So I've been listening to you guys for a while. I really think that you're the right choice. I just need a team of tax, lawyers, and everybody else that can put this together. And
well,
I don't know nothing about it. I just know that I do real estate and I collect rent, and that's my job.
I can tell you certainly that we have, you need a lawyer for sure. You need an estate planning attorney with that kind of an estate and married and 5 kids. So who you pick, up to you, but certainly, one, you need one. 2, yes, an estate plan to help you shelter. And again, remember, folks, the federal estate tax exemption is going to drop to about $7 million in a year and a half or so. So, $10 million, you're looking at 50% estate tax on the amount over for federal and state. So there's a lot of money right there. I love, Jerry, the fact that you have that you have LLCs in place for your real estate, right? That is really a great idea. But now you need to take the shares of the LLC and put them into probably a revocable trust. Whether you can get away with a joint or not would really need to sit down and learn about the size of your estate, whether we need 1 trust or 2. So we'd take the LLC shares, put them in there. You would always be able to then, and we put your other assets in there. And I will look at your LLCs and see if there's a way to, sort of fine-tune how you own those a little bit. But yes, I think an estate plan is in order to get your shares in there, to get your other assets in there, and then structure it to really eliminate your federal estate tax completely, and then significantly reduce your mass tax while also providing for your family, and maybe even with an estate this large, protecting those 5 kids from their future divorces and creditors, et cetera. I would certainly want to do that.
Todd, I've got one more for you. Let's go to Peter in Worcester. Peter, we've only got about a minute and a half, so we got to speed run this one a little bit. What's your question for Todd?
All right, Todd, thanks for taking the call. Hey, listen, I set up a trust about 5 years ago. I'm retired, state employee, I'm a retired police officer.
Is it an irrevocable trust?
It's a revocable trust.
Got it. Go ahead.
My two daughters are 23 and 26, and I'm looking at right now. I haven't looked at again.
Mm-hmm.
I have a 457 with the state that I started way back when in the 80s.
Yep.
There's probably about $1 million in there.
Yep.
And that's going through.
What's the question? Get right to the question. What's the question?
Okay. Here's what I want to do. I was thinking about making my oldest daughter the trustee, and I don't know if that's a good idea.
Okay. Well, it can be. When are you married?
I'm not. I'm divorced.
So when you pass away, I don't want the trustee to be your daughter now. You should be the trustee because it's a revocable trust, and then when you die, you certainly can have your daughter as trustee. That's not a problem ever. If, on the other hand, based on as you get older, you want to do irrevocable trust planning, it's also not a problem to have your daughter as trustee, but you don't have to have a daughter as trustee. So you need to think about that. So if that's the question, no real problem there.
Todd, thanks so much for joining us today. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Always a pleasure.
This has been Ask Todd on the Financial Exchange Radio Network. Ask Todd with Todd Lutsky has been presented by Cushing & Dolan, serving Massachusetts and New England for more than 30 years, helping families with estate and tax planning, Medicaid planning, and probate law. Call 800-393-4001 or visit CushingDolan.com. The views expressed in this segment are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Armstrong Advisory does not provide any legal or tax advice. Please consult with your legal or tax advisor on such matters. Cushing & Armstrong do not endorse each other and are not affiliated.
Still more to come as we head towards the second hour of the show. We'll talk a little bit about earnings kicking off later this week. We got some chatter about the deficit as well. Boeing in a contract negotiation with their union. We'll give you an update on what's happening there. And we'll also talk a little bit about robots. Yeah, we're going to be talking robots in hour 2. It's going to be a good one. Quick break here. Hour 2 coming up in just a little bit.
Cardiovascular disease is the #1 killer of women, taking the lives of 1 in 3.
That's more than all forms of cancer combined.
For too long, heart disease and stroke have taken the lives of the women we love.
But we're not giving up because we have something better,
stronger, more powerful.
We have each other.
When we come together and go red,
the more power we have against our greatest health threat.
Visit GoRedForWomen.org today to learn more.
Are you retired like me and you just found out you owe the IRS a ton of money? Well, what would your life be like if they took your retirement savings away from you? They can do it and your property. If you owe the IRS back taxes or you haven't filed in a while, the Tax Relief Line is here to help you. They can stop the IRS from taking your retirement savings. If you qualify, you could have your tax bill reduced to 0. That's right. If you're retired and you owe the IRS a lot in back taxes, you could have your entire tax bill reduced to 0 due. The IRS has now hired thousands of new employees, so they're ready to come after you. Don't let them take your retirement savings or property. Make this free call now.
800-251-2153. 800-251-2153. 800-251-2153. That's 800-251-2153.
Every single day, more than 2,000 U.S. companies face a cyber threat or attack. The Boston Red Sox in Fenway Park chose Centripetal as their official cyber network security partner to ensure the protection of their network and ballpark. Intelligence is the answer to protecting your network, and Centripetal is the global leader of intelligence-powered cybersecurity. The choice is yours. Are you going to be another one of those attacked companies? Or are you ready to experience a radical new cybersecurity solution? Find out why the Red Sox chose Centripetal at www.centripetal.ai.
This Veterans Day weekend, help honor all who have served this country. Join us on Saturday, November 9th for the 9th Annual Disabled American Veterans 5K Boston, proudly presented by Veterans Development Corporation. It's a run and walk to support the DAV Department of Massachusetts. Saturday, November 9th at DCR's Castle Island in South South Boston. Let's honor all who have sacrificed for our freedom. Register or donate now at dav5k.boston. That's dav5k.boston.
This is the Money Matters Radio Network, WBNW 1120 AM and W275 CM FM. Concord, Boston, the Money Matters Radio Network.
This is Tucker Silva of the Financial Exchange Show, and I'm joined today by estate planning attorney Todd Lutsky, a partner with the law firm of Cushing & Dolan with a master's in taxation. And today we're talking about choosing beneficiaries for your IRA. Todd, what is the best way to set up designated beneficiaries for qualified plan assets from both a Medicaid and estate tax planning perspective for a married couple?
Generally, for a married couple, you have several choices. The most commonly used one is you're going to make the surviving spouse the designated beneficiary. It doesn't shelter assets from estate taxes. It just passes to the surviving spouse. It avoids probate, and it's probably the best way to go from an income tax perspective, not necessarily an estate tax perspective. Another way would be you could technically name the trust the beneficiary of the IRA when you pass. That at least will help it shelter assets for estate tax purposes and still provide for the surviving spouse. But from a Medicaid perspective, it will then protect it from the nursing home, but it'll take 5 years. Perhaps the newest and best way to do this would be to name the estate the beneficiary, provided you are over age 73 or over. That way, it goes through probate into the will. It is sheltered for estate taxes. It is immediately protected from the cost of long-term care for the surviving spouse, and the surviving spouse has access to it as well.
Educate yourself about the estate planning process. Request your free copy of Todd's brand new guide, Why Name Your Estate an IRA Beneficiary, right now by calling 866-848-5699. That's 866-848-5699. Or you can request a copy from their website, legalexchangeshow.com.
The proceeding was paid for, and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing and Armstrong do not endorse each other and are not affiliated. Fall is in full swing. The leaves are changing, the days are getting shorter, and the cold is inching closer. Don't let the prospect of darkness at 4 p.m. get you down, because your next incredible vacation is just a click away. The U.S. Virgin Islands are St. Croix, St. Thomas, and St. John. Enjoy one or all three and experience rich history, world-class cuisine, a wide variety of water sports, and the most pristine beaches anywhere in the world. Go to visitusvi.com and check out the American Caribbean, where you'll find all the information you need to book a trip you'll never forget. Upon arrival, you'll fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands. Travel to and from New England is simple, and your stay will be hassle-free because this is the American Caribbean. There's no passport required and no money to exchange. Whether it's a romantic getaway or a family vacation, make your plans now to get out of the cold and head to America's Caribbean paradise. Go to visitusvi.com and book your trip of a lifetime today. That's visitusvi.com.
Here at the Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, we are committed to all students not only attending, but succeeding at school. Your presence is powerful. Share why you attend at doe.mass.edu.
Sponsored by the Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education.
Environmental nonprofit Ocean River Institute is working with communities to tackle climate change with nature-based solutions that feature slowing water down and building more soil with grasses and plants. Research indicates that people acting in their own neighborhoods can build an inch of soil in a year and slow sea level rise down by as much as 25%. Please visit oceanriver.org for more information on opportunities to make a difference and go the distance for savvy stewardship of a greener and bluer planet Earth.
Last year, we introduced you to Marc Vaughter, CEO of Veterans Development Corporation. Marc is a career military man, and we're proud to have him back as the presenting sponsor of the 2024 DAV 5K Boston.
I'm a proud partner of the Disabled American Veterans, Department of Massachusetts. The DAV does incredible work, and it was one of the first organizations I became familiar with after my military service ended in 1984. As I built my company, Veterans Development Corporation, I did it knowing that I'd be giving back to fellow vets who need jobs, support services, services, medical supplies, and much more. I work with disabled veterans every day and is one of the key reasons why I'm such a big supporter of Dan Stack and the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts in this year's DAV 5K Boston. Please join me in supporting this tremendous cause by taking part in this year's event or by making a donation to the DAV.
Veterans Development Corporation is proud to be the presenting sponsor of this year's DAV 5K, taking place on Saturday, November 9th at Fort Independence in South Boston. To register for this year's race, visit dav5k.boston.
As a busy mom to 4 kids, my to-do list is full.
Trying to fit in exercise, eating right, and prioritizing self-care can feel next to impossible.
While we can't add more hours to the day, we do have a great resource to help.
Go Red for Women has easy tips, tools, and information to help you and your family live a healthier life.
So to all the moms, the aunts, grandmothers, and amazing women out there doing it all,
visit goredforwomen.org/momlife today.
You take care of them, Go Red for Women will take care of you.
The Financial Exchange is produced by Money Matters Radio and is hosted by employees of the Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. All opinions expressed are solely those of the hosts, do not reflect the opinions of Armstrong Advisory or anyone else. Investments can lose money. This program does not offer any specific financial or investment advice. Please consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong Advisory and the advertisers heard on this program do not endorse each other or their services. Armstrong and Money Matters Radio do not compensate each other for referrals and are not affiliated. This is the Financial Exchange with Chuck Zodda and Marc Fandetti. Your exclusive look at business and financial news affecting your day, your city, your world. Stay informed and up to date about economic and market trends, plus breaking business news every day. The Financial Exchange is a proud partner of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. Help us support our great American heroes by visiting DAV5K.Boston and making a donation today. The DAV 5K Boston is presented by Veterans Development Corporation. This is the Financial Exchange with Chuck Zodda and Marc Fandetti.
Kicking off hour 2 of the Financial Exchange, Chuck, Mark, and Tucker with you. The Dow's up 196 points. The S&P's up 22 points. Just checking quickly to see if, it's a new all-time high on the S&P 500. Just pointing that out.
I was waiting for a sound effect.
It's fine. You know why there's no sound effect? Because the market didn't crash in September like everyone thought it was going to. Oh, September's the worst month for stocks. See how the first 3 days went? Yeah, it's October 9th, and I'm still going on about this.
Every chart I did for a month.
Sorry.
Pretty much just summed it up. There is this strange, curious, interesting regularity whereby the fall is typically tough for stocks, and it's not just 1929 and 1987. So
Sure.
it's kind of fun, in finance. There's not always something new to do, so you look for these regularities, these little accidents maybe of history, and the September effect, if you want to call it that, which obviously was not borne out recently.
Nope.
The September effect is one of those kind of curious regularities that you run into that there's no obvious explanation for.
So, in any case, the S&P 500 hitting a new intraday all-time high of 5773.69. So just chugging along again as we get kind of into the middle part of October. The Nasdaq up 69 points to 18,252. When we take a look at oil, West Texas Intermediate down another 90 cents a barrel today to 72.67 on the back of, again, no further escalation in the Middle East to this point. And also China's stimulus continuing to disappoint investors at the moment. When we look at the impact on gas prices, still moving up again. There's a little bit of a lag here. So you got gas prices up 2.4 cents overnight to 3.20 cents. If we continue to see prices sliding back into the low 70s, this should reverse and will probably, fall back into right around that 320 range after a brief move, probably up to 325-ish. And when we take a look at gold, we've got gold off $6.40 an ounce today to $26.29 even. And so that is what is moving in markets. Mark, let's talk a little bit about earnings, because later this week we got JPMorgan and Wells Fargo kicking off earnings season for Q3. How excited are you?
I don't get overly excited, as you know, about earnings. There's not much correlation between stock market performance quarter over quarter and earnings. Longer term, there certainly is. That's
Sure.
the only reason you own stocks. But you pointed out in the last hour, and can you recap why? I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you talked about why, for example, watching financial services companies, specifically the bank part of that sub-index, which is not a huge part of the overall market, maybe 3-4% banks in total, but they can be a harbinger of good or bad economic outcomes.
Yeah, you can just get a little bit of a sense of what's going on as far as the lending that they're doing, simply because one of the ways that the U.S. economy grows, typically the major way that it grows, is through borrowing in order to fund future expansion of businesses or households, whatever it might be. And so banks can give you a little bit of an idea as to what's going on in the U.S. economy, and I think this is particularly important right now just because, look, we're going to have messy economic data from these two hurricanes for, quite honestly, probably most of the fourth quarter is just going to be messy. October might look really slow. November might look really hot. December, who the heck knows? And so you might have like a 2 to 3 month period where it's kind of hard to tell what's going on with all the noise in the broader data. And so I think that when you look at banks, not looking at the earnings specifically, because bank earnings, quite honestly, unless you really study banks, like you don't really know what you're looking at with bank earnings. But just hearing how they describe what they're seeing as far as loan growth, their loan book, charge-off rates, things along those lines, it can give you a little bit of an insight as to what some of the trends might be from households and businesses as far as borrowing and their ability to pay back those loans. I think that's something that might be data that we need given the unreliability of data in the coming months because of the impacts of these two hurricanes here.
Yeah, so credit card delinquencies is one of the areas that typically are commented on, I guess, in these calls. I'm not an analyst in this sector or any sector for that matter. Just a generalist comment here on my part. But credit card delinquencies and what they may imply for the health of the consumer is always of interest. But they've been they breached $1 trillion. You may recall credit card balances a year ago to great fanfare or despair, depending on your point of view. The economy didn't break, far from it. It's been growing at a very respectable clip. Nevertheless, some color on that from them might be from those reporting earnings overall might be interesting. Just hard to know what to make of it, how to put it all in context, and hard to know whether to generalize from, as you pointed out, from what one company's saying. Are they making excuses for bad operational execution? Are they trying to blame the macro environment?
Now, the good news, we're going to be getting a whole bunch more earnings coming out over the next couple weeks. This is kind of the unofficial kickoff of earnings season. And as we get into next week, next Wednesday, we've got Tesla reporting. Thursday, we got Netflix. And Friday, you got P&G, American Express. So, again, a few major companies next week. But then the week after, so 2 weeks from now, is where you really get into the bulk of it. October 22nd, you got Microsoft, Alphabet, and Visa all reporting. So you got just, some monsters there. The day after that, you get Meta, Coca-Cola reporting, McDonald's as well. Day after that, you are going to be getting Apple, Amazon. So it's just all lined up that third full week of October here. And so we're going to be hearing from companies in lots of different areas about what they are seeing. Are those AI trends continuing in tech? Are we, still seeing retailers concerned about inventories? Retailers don't report until a little later in the cycle. Those will typically be, I think at this point, it'll be like early November when we start to get the Walmarts and Home Depots and Targets of the world reporting. But this is going to be important in terms of us trying to figure out, hey, where is the economy going? Because the broader economic data is just going to be an absolute mess. I mean, if you end up with Hurricane Milton, again, right now it looks like it's making a straight beeline for kind of right between Bradenton and Sarasota. Look, you think about all the consumer spending that happens in that area as you head into the winter. The thousands of people that travel down to the west coast of Florida, either to vacation for a week or, hey, the snowbirds that head down to their place for the winter. Like, normally, this is the time of year when that stuff starts happening. And you think about the amount of spending that might not happen as a result of that. rental car cancellations, hotel cancellations, Disney trips that don't happen, like all this stuff that might not be happening, we're not really going to have a ton of insight into with the broad government data, but we're going to hear from companies in the next few weeks, hey, here's what we're seeing as a result of these hurricanes and how they're impacting our businesses. And that, I think, is going to give us some important data about the health of the U.S. economy, because we're going to be kind of blind as far as the broader data, I think.
Yeah, it's interesting. There has been a lot of work done on the economic impact of natural disasters, and if I had to sum it up, just having looked at it quickly this morning, some of the literature, and it's a specialization. I don't mean to give it short shrift or to be cavalier about it, but as you would expect, the local impact is severe and takes years to resolve, and it may never resolve if people determine that an area is just unsafe or they can't live there because home insurance becomes prohibitively expensive, which is the whole point of insurance, after all. It's to change behavior to an extent. So we just don't know. Overall activity, it'll be a blip. I'm confident of that. It may affect the course of the economy over 1 or 2 quarters, or seem to, but in the long run, it will, like so much turmoil historically, God willing anyway, be nothing but a blip.
Let's take a quick break here. When we come back, we'll talk. We'll do a little bit of trivia, and then we're talking deficits after this.
Tune in for Trivia, brought to you by Applebee's. Every day at 11:20 for your chance to win cool prizes. Text us at 617-362-1385 and use keyword Applebee's. Complete rules are available at financialexchangeshow.com. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network. If you run a small business, mismanaged inventory can be a major problem for you and your customers. SAB Solutions Incorporated has been a trusted advisor in helping companies with inventory management for more than 15 years. Using real-time data and digital technology, SAB Solutions can transform your traditional storeroom into an intelligent warehouse, making your business operate more efficiently. For more information or to ask for a no-cost assessment, visit us online at sabsolutionsma.com. That's sabsolutionsma.com.
Breast cancer touches millions of lives. Hi, this is Candy O'Terry, inviting you to join me on Tuesday evening, October 15th at Newton Wellesley Hospital for their free conversation series. Hear from leading experts: radiation oncologist Theodore Hong, breast surgeon Michelle Specht, and nursing officer Jane Keefe. That's Tuesday, October 15th at Newton Wellesley Hospital. Register today. nwhevents@partners.org. That's nwhevents@partners.org.
Last year, we introduced you to Marc Vaughter, CEO of Veterans Development Corporation. Marc is a career military man, and we're proud to have him back as the presenting sponsor of the 2024 DAV 5K Boston.
I am a proud partner of the Disabled American Veterans, Department of Massachusetts. The DAV does incredible work, and it was one of the first organizations I became familiar with after my military service ended in 1984. As I built my company, Veterans Development Corporation, I did it knowing that I'd be giving back to fellow vets who need jobs, support services, medical supplies, and much more. I work with disabled veterans every day, and is one of the key reasons why I'm such a big supporter of Dan Stack and the Disabled American Veterans, Department of Massachusetts, in this year's DAV 5K Boston. Please join me in supporting this tremendous cause by taking part in this year's event or by making a donation to the DAV.
Veterans Development Corporation is proud to be the presenting sponsor of this year's DAV 5K, taking place on Saturday, November 9th at Fort Independence in South Boston. To register for this year's race, visit dav5k.boston.
Social Security benefits are a key source of income for many retirees. Hi, this is Mike Armstrong from the Armstrong Advisory Group. Social Security offers monthly payments to eligible workers, their spouses, dependent children, and survivors. But if you aren't fully aware of the factors that can help maximize your benefits, you need to request our new guide called Social Security and Taxes. As retirement approaches, it's very important to understand these factors and develop a well-rounded plan to optimize your benefits. The guide will help you understand how to effectively leverage your Social Security benefits while taking steps to avoid leaving money on the table. Call us at 800-393-4001 and get your free guide today. Again, that free guide is called Social Security and Taxes, and you can get it by calling the Armstrong Advisory Group at 800-393-4001.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services. Fall is in full swing. The leaves are changing, the days are getting shorter, and the cold is inching closer. Don't let the prospect of darkness at 4 p.m. get you down, because your next incredible vacation is just a click away. The U.S. Virgin Islands are St. Croix, St. Thomas, and St. John. Enjoy one or all three and experience rich history, world-class cuisine, a wide variety of water sports, and the most pristine beaches anywhere in the world. Go to visitusvi.com and check out the American Caribbean, where you'll find all the information you need to book a trip you'll never forget. Upon arrival, you'll fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands. Travel to and from New England is simple, and your stay will be hassle-free because this is the American Caribbean. There's no passport required and no money to exchange. Whether it's a romantic getaway or a family vacation, make your plans now to get out of the cold and head to America's Caribbean paradise. Go to visitusvi.com and book your trip of a lifetime today. That's visitusvi.com. Missed one of our shows? Catch up anytime by asking your Alexa smart speaker to play The Financial Exchange. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Trivia brought to you by Applebee's. Take your friends or family to any area Applebee's and enjoy half-price late-night appetizers after 9 p.m., including boneless wings, spinach and artichoke dip, and warm pretzels dipped in beer cheese. And don't forget to join Club Applebee's to enjoy exclusive deals and specials. You'll get a free appetizer just for signing up. Now, that's eating good in the neighborhood, void where prohibited. Dine in only. Well, starting in the 1970s, two candy bars were featured in a famous advertisement with the slogan, "Sometimes you feel like a nut, sometimes you don't." Trivia question today, which two candy bars was that commercial talking about? Once again, which two candy bars was that commercial talking about? And the quote again was, "Sometimes you feel like a nut, sometimes you don't." Be the fourth person today to text us at 617-362-1385. with the correct answer, and you win a Financial Exchange Show t-shirt and be registered to win a $100 gift card to Applebee's. Be sure to include the keyword Applebee's in your text, and we'll give away that Applebee's gift card on Friday's show. 617-362-1385, and the fourth correct response will be our winner. See complete contest rules at financialexchangeshow.com.
That was such a sober delivery of a wacky slogan. I've never heard it. You really took the fun out of "Sometimes you feel like a nut." You're supposed to sing it and it's supposed to be upbeat.
Was it a song?
You delivered that like Walter Cronkite, which he was. It was a little jingle.
Well, in Americans, sometimes you feel like a nut and sometimes you don't.
Good evening. Right. He delivered it like a 1950s newscaster or something. It was perfect, by the way. But
we could do the whole segment like that.
Sorry.
No. We could do the whole segment that way. The federal deficit hit $1.8 trillion for 2024, according to a CBO study.
Now do Tom Brokaw. Sometimes you feel like... I can't even do it. That was more Sean Connery.
Sean Connery reads economics headlines. Sometimes you feel like a nut, sometimes you don't.
Deficit.
Right. Now I'm doing like Celebrity Jeopardy, Sean Connery. So, anyways... Federal deficit hit $1.8 trillion for, I can't even get through one article doing it that way. $1.8 trillion in 2024. On a percentage basis, which is what really matters, like the number of dollars, it's always, I find that it's just out there to shock people, because the first time that the deficit went over, $1 billion 100 years ago, people were probably like, oh, the deficit's too big. But the number is not what matters. Like, if you have a $1.8 trillion annual deficit, but your economy is $200 trillion, you're probably fine. It's probably not a big deal as long as your economy is growing faster than that 1%. The unfortunate thing is that the U.S. economy is about $29 trillion in terms of GDP. And so if you look at the annual, deficit and say, okay, it's like 6% and change of GDP, that's kind of a problem simply because the U.S. economy is growing at a nominal rate somewhere in the 5 to 5.5% range. And so the deficit is continuing now to expand as a percentage of GDP, not contracting as it did for the last couple of years.
Yeah, so the big question is, at what point will debt markets balk at such high deficits and debt and demand to be compensated more for holding it. Said differently, when are interest rates going to start going up?
And there is an empirical answer to this.
Well, in
which is nobody knows.
2010, the seminal study was done on this. They wrote a book based on a paper these two economists did. Their names are Reinhardt and Rogoff. No more detail is not really important right now. And this was controversial at the time and remains controversial. They found that after debt to GDP gets above 90% in developed countries, I won't bore you with too much of the detail, but at that point, you get a phenomenon that they coined as debt intolerance.
It's like lactose intolerance, but with debt.
But without the gas.
You can't digest it.
Yeah.
It's a little gassy. It's uncomfortable for everyone.
So I guess they found, and this again, there is no tipping point per se. It's different for every economy at different points in time. But there will come a point when investors, just think of yourself, do you want to lend to a government that might have to, say, print money to pay off its debts? Because of these chronic deficits, and we use these two terms interchangeably, but deficits are the flow, they're the change, the debt is the stock. The debt is the $34 trillion you were talking about, some of which is held by the Fed. The deficit is what we're adding every year. It's roughly $2 trillion, as Chuck just pointed out. So at some point, investors will demand higher interest rates to compensate for the risk that some of this will get inflated away. It's a very real risk. It's just a question of where the tipping point is, and there is no easy empirical, Chuck, as you put it, answer. But it will come. It's just a question of when.
And the other tough thing that you have to remember is that not all developed countries are created equal when it comes to the amount of debt that they can sustain. Quite honestly, in the last 100 years, there has been no country that exists in a situation that resembles the United States in any way, shape, or form today. And that, look, the U.S. is still about 20% of the world economy. So it's just a huge, engine in a way that no other economy that we have accurate data for has been. The U.S. dollar is still the single biggest currency that is used for world trade by a large margin, despite, all the claims to the contrary about how the dollar is, being replaced and blah, blah, blah. Like, it's just not. I'm sorry. The data is pretty conclusive on this for all the people that want to say that, countries are choosing to use the yuan in this and that. I mean, outside of Russia, basically no one's using it in any meaningful fashion at this point. And even Russia and China, by the way, they don't settle any of their trades in each other's currencies because they specifically don't trust each other's currencies. So yes, they may have trades that take place initially there, but they're settling in a third party.
No, that's right. When
currency.
Trump sends Putin birthday gifts, he sends him $100 bills.
Well, it's as good as gold, right? So in any case, when you look at where the U.S. is with regards to the deficit, like it's going to be a problem at some point if it continues on this track. The problem is you don't know where that point is from a time perspective. You don't know if it's a week from now, a month from now, a year from now, a decade from now, or 100 years from now.
I would keep the Rogoff-Reinhardt tipping point estimate, which is just an average of all the countries they looked at. And it's always hard to say why rates are going up. And this work remains controversial. But we're probably in the danger zone now at 95% of the debt held by the public. That's the ratio of debt held by the public to GDP. Everybody agrees that it's too high. Nobody agrees on how to get it down. It's going to require, as you guys talk about a lot on the financial exchange, some combination of tax increases and spending cuts, particularly entitlement spending cuts. And there's another article in the stack, I don't know if we'll get to it, that addresses that. These problems are virtually intractable, and it seems like it's going to take a crisis for us to deal with them.
Yeah, I mean, we've been putting off this stuff for
my whole life,
quite a while,
honestly, since the 1980s.
But this is also the other problem in like if you're trying to build an investable thesis, you can't, because you don't know when this is going to actually become a problem. If you spent the last 40 years saying, well, I need to change how I invest because the U.S. deficit is a problem, it's been a horrible strategy for you.
Like, it's not actionable now.
And that's
unfortunately.
That's the thing is you hear people say, well, the U.S. deficit's a problem. Like, now's the time to buy, gold or real estate or this or pigs or whatever the heck it is. And it's like, well, why now? Like, what do you know? And well, I read this piece and no. Like
that's a good point. Yeah.
You have to remember that just because we're saying, hey, there are potential problems because of this, that does not make something an investable thesis. You have to be able to go further and say, here's the edge that I have that explains why this is going to happen at this time and why what I'm proposing is the right thing to do. Quick break here. When we come back, we've got the trivia answer, and then let's talk a little bit of Boeing when we return.
Bringing the latest financial news straight to your radio every day. It's the Financial Exchange on the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Congress is poised to pass a bill to keep AM radio in cars, but time is running out. 82 million Americans risk losing the news, sports, talk, traffic, and vital emergency information they rely on. Text AM to 52886 and tell Congress to pass this bill now.
Message and data rates may apply. You may receive up to 4 messages a month, and you may text STOP to STOP.
This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters.
Let's talk LDL. AKA bad cholesterol. The higher your LDL cholesterol, the higher your risk of a heart attack or stroke. Your health matters. Know your number. Talk to your doctor and get your cholesterol checked. And learn how to help lower your LDL bad cholesterol. Because your health is in your hands. Find out more at heart.org/LDL.
Fall is in full swing. The leaves are changing, the days are getting shorter, and the cold is inching closer. Don't let the prospect of darkness at 4 p.m. get you down, because your next incredible vacation is just a click away. The U.S. Virgin Islands are St. Croix, St. Thomas, and St. John. Enjoy one or all three and experience rich history, world-class cuisine, a wide variety of water sports, and the most pristine beaches anywhere in the world. Go to visitusvi.com and check out the American Caribbean, where you'll find all the information you need to book a trip you'll never forget. Upon arrival, you'll fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands. Travel to and from New England is simple, and your stay will be hassle-free because this is the American Caribbean. There's no passport required and no money to exchange. Whether it's a romantic getaway or a family vacation, make your plans now to get out of the cold and head to America's Caribbean paradise. Go to visitusvi.com and book your trip of a lifetime today. That's visitusvi.com.
Hi, it's Chuck and Mike from the Armstrong Advisory Group, and we have a guide available this month titled Social Security and Taxes. Mike, when we talk about incorporating a Social Security strategy into a financial plan, what are some of the considerations?
Well, the consideration that everyone likes to focus on, and for good reason, is, hey, how do I maximize my benefits over my lifetime? If I live to a certain age, when's the best time for me to claim Social Security? Because obviously you have a wide range. You can start as early as 62, as late as age 70. And depending on how long you live, there's a calculation to figure out what would be the most benefits you would receive over your lifetime. But I would argue that for most folks, that's probably not the most important consideration to be making.
What is the most important one?
So I would be focusing on the impact of certain items to the success of your financial plan. So for example, if you look at your plan and say, wow, if I face a lot of inflation in retirement, maybe just because prices in general go up more than I anticipate, then delaying Social Security in order to get a larger base on which COLA is adjusted could be a really positive impact to your plan. On the other hand, if you have a shorter than normal life expectancy or a longer than normal life expectancy, both of those come into play as well when figuring out the appropriate time to claim that Social Security benefit.
Our guide this month is titled Social Security and Taxes, and the number to call to request it is 800-393-4001. Again, the guide that's available this month is called Social Security and Taxes, and the number to call to request it is 800-393-4001.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services.
Are you retired like me and you just found out you owe the IRS a ton of money? Well, what would your life be like if they took your retirement savings away from you? They can do it and your property. If you owe the IRS back taxes or you haven't filed filed in a while. The Tax Relief Line is here to help you. They can stop the IRS from taking your retirement savings. If you qualify, you could have your tax bill reduced to zero. That's right. If you're retired and you owe the IRS a lot in back taxes, you could have your entire tax bill reduced to zero due. The IRS has now hired thousands of new employees, so they're ready to come after you. Don't let them take your retirement savings or property. Make this free call now.
800-251-2153. 800-251-2153. 800-251-2153. That's 800-251-2153.
Find daily interviews and full shows of the Financial Exchange on our YouTube page. Like us on YouTube and get caught up on anything and everything you might have missed. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Two candy bars were featured in a famous ad with the slogan, "Sometimes you feel like a nut and sometimes you don't." That was a trivia question today, asking which two candy bars they were, and that was Almond Joy and Mounds. Both Almond Joy and Mounds candy feature a sweet coconut center. Almond Joy candy includes a crunchy whole almond and a chocolate candy coating. Mounds candy has no nuts and a dark chocolate candy coating. Winner of the Financial Exchange Show t-shirt today was Joanna from Alton, New Hampshire. And Joanna is also registered to win a $100 gift card to Applebee's, which we'll give away on Friday. And trivia is brought to you by Applebee's. Enjoy half-price late-night appetizers after 9 p.m. and join Club Applebee's to enjoy exclusive deals and specials. You'll get a free appetizer just for signing up. Now that's eating good in the neighborhood. Void where prohibited. Dine in only.
Boeing is in the midst of a negotiation with their union, the International Association of Machinists. It's not their union. It's the union that employs people that work at their factories out on the West Coast. And they decided yesterday that Boeing decided to step back from negotiations. Boeing said the union was making, quote, non-negotiable demands, while the IAM said the company was, quote, hell-bent on standing on the non-negotiated offer. So you've got this strike that's been going on since, I believe it's September 13th. So we're closing in on a month now. And Boeing is losing a bunch of money each day because, well, they make airplanes with these workers. Or rather, these workers make airplanes. I guess that's the better way to phrase it. And so if you're an airplane manufacturer that can't make some of the airplanes that you sell, it results in the loss of revenue, which typically impacts profit as well. And so Boeing continues to head towards a place where S&P Global Ratings is now saying that it might cut the plane maker's credit grade to junk. Your thoughts, Mark?
I'd forgotten there was a strike, to be honest, at the risk of sounding obtuse. But one does wonder how long. First of all, I didn't realize one party could just walk away. They haven't taken that rather severe step yet, but at some point, I guess the feds can come in and force them to talk, if not force a settlement on them.
Boeing is also apparently considering selling $10 billion of new stock once they know the extent of the damage. And so it's just kind of a continuation of, again, different struggles in this case than, building planes poorly, but continuation of struggles for a company that has been struggling really for the last 6 to 8 years now. I mean, this goes back. You're talking, the decision-making on their struggles goes back over a decade, but you're really talking like 2017, 2018, where this company, started to run into problems, and the manufacturing decisions that they made started resulting in the deaths of people flying on Boeing airplanes. So we'll continue to keep you updated on what is going on that front.
Well, fall is in full swing. The leaves are changing, the days are getting shorter, and the cold is inching closer. Don't let the prospect of darkness at 4 o'clock get you down, because your next incredible vacation is just a click away. The U.S. Virgin Islands are St. Croix, St. Thomas, and St. John. Enjoy one or all three and experience rich history, world-class cuisine, a wide variety of water sports, and the most pristine beaches anywhere in the world. Go to visitusvi.com and check out the American Caribbean, where you'll find all the information you'll need to book a trip that you'll never forget. Upon arrival, you'll fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the island, restaurants. Travel to and from New England is simple, and your stay will be hassle-free because this is the American Caribbean. There's no passport required or money to exchange. Whether it's a romantic getaway or a family vacation, make your plans now to get out of the cold and head to America's Caribbean paradise. Go to visitusvi.com and book your trip of a lifetime today. That's visitusvi.com.
Piece in the Wall Street Journal. It's titled "The Battle Over Robots at U.S. Ports is On." And basically what it's talking about is, look, you've got this tentative agreement on wages between the dock workers now and the shippers and ports. But one of the things that still needs to be negotiated before the short-term expiration, the short-term extension expires on January 15th, is what are these ports going to do with regards to automation? And obviously, look, the ports and the shippers are pushing for much higher levels of automation because they think it'll build efficiency and lower cost. The workers are saying, no, we don't want to be automated out of jobs. Both of these are positions that I can understand. But ultimately, when we look at the idea of economic growth and the creation and building of wealth, the way that it happens is through productivity gains and efficiency gains that allow us to produce more stuff with fewer inputs. It's basically the entire principle, which is, look, if we were still restricted to having to manually plant every farm and catch every fish by hand, and it would be, an awful lot of work. Imagine a world in which you say, hey, you know what? I'm going to go out and get some shrimp for tonight, and you have to go out there with like a harpoon and get all of the shrimp one by one. That would be really bad.
Seems aggressive for shrimp.
It does seem like
tiny harpoon, little tiny harpoon, baby harpoon, just
toothpick,
just a little tiny one. It gets right into the cocktail size. It's that toothpick that you use.
Yeah, the spear that goes into a sandwich. Okay.
That's what I mean by harpoon.
Okay, gotcha.
That's why poor Chuck's never enjoyed a shrimp. He's been obliterating them with harpoons. It's like, how do you guys do it? There's nothing left by the time.
Guys, I got a big one. It's a jumbo. Eventually, though, look, I know that's not how they caught them originally, but look, someone comes along with, hey, a net that's, a fine mesh and actually catches hundreds of them. The person using the harpoon doesn't say, hey, you can't use that. It's going to put me out of business. We adapt because new technology makes things easier, and the companies and workers that adapt best to new technologies are able to be on that cutting edge. So this is a place where, again, I say this as someone who realizes that for the last, 50 years, the bulk of that time, we've seen wage gains not keeping up with productivity, meaning we've been generating more wealth, but it hasn't been distributed out to workers as well. Like, that's been one of the major problems. The answer to that is not to say, let's restrict productivity, in my opinion. Like, that's a bad way to go about it. Hey, we've got this new technology that can make things easier, cheaper, and faster for us. Let's not use it because we're worried about losing jobs. Imagine if that's what we said. Imagine if we said that about the combine or the word processor or the airplane.
Right. These jobs aren't really lost. These workers will be retrained, gradually moving into new industries. Or perhaps if it's done in a more humane, slow, but more humane way by attrition, the adjustment could be made far less painful. But we'll just call it progress, which there was not for a long time. The economics profession has spent and continue to spend a lot of time answering the question, what causes growth? It might surprise you to know economists don't agree on that question.
Not everyone's sure.
Productivity is a residual. It's like what is driving it, but we don't really know how. There are models.
We don't know what causes productivity.
Yeah, there are different schools of thought on this, is my point. So if it's not obvious to you, you're in really good company as to what causes economic growth. Nobody really understands it. We can describe it, but what causes it? Harder to say. Good institutions are important. I'll just leave it at that. Stable government, independent Federal Reserve. The stuff basically that we have. But you're right, Chuck, you can't fight, I'll just call it progress. The right solution is for politicians to get in front of this and establish funds for retraining people hurt by free trade, which is another example of temporary job disruptions, losses, to be more blunt, is free trade. You can either throw up barriers like J.D. Vance wants to do when he says 5 million cheap toasters is not worth one job. Really, JD? If you're saving $10 on each toaster, that's $50 million. Got plenty of money. You could tax half of that, use it to retrain workers, put them in a new industry. So one solution, which both the left and right have embraced, is to throw up barriers and hide from the world. This view seems prevalent right now, sadly. It'll make us less wealthy, a lot less wealthy in the long term. Another view is to get ahead of it through education, through universal basic income, something I'm not a huge fan of, but it's another way to support people who are displaced.
Or, look, this is, at the risk of getting, really, really basic on this, this is a collective bargaining agreement. The union and the companies can collectively bargain the retraining in this case. That's
what they've done in past.
These are things. It's not you don't just have one worker out there saying, "Oh, gee, what am I going to do?" You can literally bargain in, hey, for every worker displaced, the companies will commit X dollars to retraining, in the fields that specialize in X, Y, or Z. And blah, blah, blah. You can literally collectively bargain it. So I have sympathy for, workers who say, hey, we're going to be automated out of existence. Again,
no one's saying
this might be coming for all of us with AI and where it could be going.
Chuck, nobody's saying good luck. Sorry, a robot takes 7 jobs, as the research from Darren Acemoglu works at MIT, which is cited in this article, rightly points out. That's over a 30-year, multi-decade period, though. Plenty of time, again, to get ahead of this stuff.
Right.
Nobody's saying kick these people out of work and wish them good luck. I'll use the same argument with respect to free trade. You don't hide from the world, so we could produce, again, J.D. Vance's fantasy. Sorry for picking on the Republican ticket, but he's the one out there saying he wants all cars to be made here and toasters to be made here. We remember what all American cars was like, those of us who drove a car made in the 1980s or 70s. We didn't always get the best quality. Competition is good.
Let's take a quick break here. When we return, let's do a little bit of stack roulette.
Business and financial news affecting the markets and your wallet. We've got it all straight from Wall Street, right here on the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Social Security benefits are a key source of income for many retirees. Hi, this is Mike Armstrong from the Armstrong Advisory Group. Social Security offers monthly payments to eligible workers, their spouses, dependent children, and survivors. But if you aren't fully aware of the factors that can help maximize your benefits, you need to request our new guide called Social Security and Taxes. As retirement approaches, it's very important to understand these factors and develop a well-rounded plan to optimize your benefits. The guide will help you understand how to effectively leverage your Social Security benefits while taking steps to avoid leaving money on the table. Call us at 800-393-4001 and get your free guide today. Again, that free guide is called Social Security and Taxes, and you can get it by calling the Armstrong Advisory Group at 800-393-4001.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services.
Last year, we introduced you to Marc Vaughter, CEO of Veterans Development Corporation. Marc is a career military man, and we're proud to have him back as the presenting sponsor of the 2024 DAV 5K Boston.
I'm a proud member of a military family, including my father, Victor, and my brother, Timmy. Serving my country was one of the greatest achievements of my life, and it's why I choose to give back to this special community. My father built Veterans Development Corporation, and I am honored to continue his legacy of working to help many disabled veterans and their families. It also gives me great pleasure to once again be the presenting sponsor of this year's DAV 5K Boston. I hope that by sharing my story, many other disabled veterans will be able to reach their goals once they conclude their service.
Veterans Development Corporation is proud to be the presenting sponsor of this year's DAV 5K, taking place on Saturday, November 9th at Fort Independence in South Boston. To register for this year's race, visit dav5k.boston.
Fall is in full swing. The leaves are changing, the days are getting shorter, and the cold is inching closer. Don't let the prospect of darkness at 4 p.m. get you down, because your next incredible vacation is just a click away. The U.S. Virgin Islands are St. Croix, St. Thomas, and St. John. Enjoy one or all three and experience rich history, world-class cuisine, a wide variety of water sports, and the most pristine beaches anywhere in the world. Go to visitusvi.com and check out the American Caribbean, where you'll find all the information you need to book a trip you'll never forget. Upon arrival, you'll fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands. Travel to and from New England is simple, and your stay will be hassle-free because this is the American Caribbean. There's no passport required and no money to exchange. Whether it's a romantic getaway or a family vacation, make your plans now to get out of the cold and head to America's Caribbean paradise. Go to visitusvi.com and book your trip of a lifetime today. That's visitusvi.com.
It happens all over Massachusetts.
Can you tie my shoes?
In every home and every community.
Be careful on your bike.
Learning can happen anytime, anywhere.
We'll see you at practice this weekend.
And no matter how learning takes place in your family's life, DESE is there as your partner. The Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. Never stop learning. Find out more at mass.gov/back-to-school.
Sponsored by the Massachusetts Department for Elementary and Secondary Education.
As a busy mom to 4 kids, my to-do list is full.
Trying to fit in exercise, eating right, and prioritizing self-care can feel next to impossible.
While we can't add more hours to the day, we do have a great resource to help.
Go Red for Women has easy tips, tools, and information to help you and your family live a healthier life.
So to all the moms, the aunts, grandmothers, and amazing women out there doing it all,
visit goredforwomen.org/momlife today.
You take care of them, Go Red for Women will take care of you.
Miss any of the show? Catch up at your convenience by visiting financialexchangeshow.com and clicking the on-demand icon, where you'll find all of our interviews and full shows. This is your home for the latest business and financial news in New England and around the country. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
The Financial Exchange is a proud partner of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. This year's race is Saturday, November 9th at Fort Independence on Castle Island. Spots are filling up fast, so register today at dav5k.boston and help us support these great American heroes. Your gifts will support a wide variety of initiatives like the DAV Transportation Program, which takes disabled vets to important medical appointments that supply both the physical and mental care they need. For more information or to make a donation, visit dav5k.boston. The DAV 5K Boston is presented by Veterans Development Corporation.
Mark, what do you have for me for Stack Roulette?
Home Depot ordering corporate staff, so desk jockeys, basically, to take an 8-hour shift at a retail location at least once a year. I read this yesterday. I hope I'm remembering this correctly. At least once a year. And I'm not sure whether I feel like this is a gimmick or whether it's likely to help people better appreciate the challenges faced by the people on the front lines. And this would apply to any corporate structure.
Sure.
Home Depot has its unique challenges. Big box home improvement stores exploded. Their sales exploded after COVID as people were stimulus flush and had very few places to spend it. They've since sagged. So this is partly perceived as a way to shore up confidence in their what I'll call turnaround plan, even though that's probably a little bit too dramatic a way to put it. But how in the world could you come to appreciate the challenges faced by your frontline people with only an 8-hour shift spent God knows how doing who knows what once a year? Seems like a gimmick.
It is, and here's why. It's a gimmick that sounds good. People be like, oh, that's what you need. You got to get the experience of being an average Joe. Well, here's the thing. First, that one day that you're working there, you're going to have no idea what to do, so you're going to be spending the entire day just asking people what to do.
Yeah,
unless there's a plan. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say that's literally what you said, Chuck, is going to piss off the retail workers who are there on a daily basis.
You're just kind of getting in the way unless there's a well-thought-out plan.
Correct.
Okay. Maybe there is a plan. I shouldn't prejudge, but...
The other thing is that one day does not give you a representative experience, even assuming, let's say that you knew everything going in. You spent like a month training for this, and you're like, okay, I know what I'm going to do. It's not just one day. It's, hey, you got to experience what it's like to be in that role long term, because the lived experience is just fundamentally different. You tell someone, hey, you're going to make X dollars an hour, and you say, okay, I'll cut my wage to that for a day. That's not the lived experience of living at those wages or with the pressures that they have, because you know that you can walk away from them. It's fundamentally different. Having to actually have that hanging over your head the whole day as something that you deal with day in, day out for months or years at a time is just a fundamentally different experience because you actually have to live it. You can't just be like, well, I'm going back to corporate tomorrow.
I think everybody knows shadowing, which is corporate speak for watching somebody all day, can have indifferent or even negative results. The person being shadowed tends to resent it when it's somebody from another department. I mean, in a big corporate structure kind of like this one. The person shadowing wonders, what am I supposed to get out of this? How will the success of it be evaluated? Is today a good sample of a day in the life of the person that or the department that I'm shadowing? It feels like a gimmick, and I think if I were on the board and the CEO brought this to me as this great innovative thing, I'd start to wonder if I'm not. I should be generalizing here. There's probably a lot more going on, but if this were the big idea, and there's no indication that it is not, that it is the only big idea circulating in the Home Depot C-suite, but I would start to wonder about leadership.
I mean, look, if you really want to know what's going on at your different locations, talk to your people and listen to them. Like they're the ones who will give you this without you having to spend a day pretending that you're a cashier.
And maybe they've tried that. In fairness, we don't really know.
Well, they're not listening well enough then.
I guess not.
Like you're either not listening well enough or you're just not listening well enough.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
Yes. I want to talk a little bit about McDonald's.
Nice, Tucker.
I thought you would like that. McDonald's is suing a number of meatpacking companies claiming that they are colluding to inflate beef prices. And this is wild to me because like you don't really see this that often where, hey, company who is dependent on, wholesale X, Y, and Z for its, livelihood, suing the only companies that can make the stuff that they need. Kind of wild, actually. I mean, like you've got big fast food suing big beef. Like this stuff doesn't really happen. Imagine, as an example, let's say that Toyota sued a bunch of steel producers.
Somebody did this in the last year. They sued a supplier. Who was it? You would know. You followed this. This is ringing a bell. Getting a little deja vu. Somebody sued a supplier in the last year. Big company, big supplier, both household names. Well, I forget.
There have been all kinds of things with food suppliers, like food wholesalers.
Maybe I'm remembering one of those instances.
I think Tyson Foods has gone through like 3 different like chicken fixing things. I forget if it's the FTC or the DOJ is looking into tuna collusion. Do you remember that story we covered, Tucker? Big...
Taka.
Yeah, the big tuna's getting out of control.
Big tuna.
But this is fascinating to me because McDonald's filed a federal complaint against Tyson Foods, JBS, Cargill, and National Beef Packing Company, alleging that they are engaging in a price-fixing scheme for beef. Now, again, there have been a lot of these things that have been filed, but they've typically been by the government. What makes this difference is McDonald's saying, hey, you guys are colluding because McDonald's needs the beef. And, the obvious threat here is that, Tyson, JBS, or Cargill is like, okay, fine, we're going to send our stuff somewhere else, and now you're not going to have any beef. How do you like it now? So I think this is fascinating. It also, to me, I wonder, the cynic in me, McDonald's has been catching some flack for raising prices quickly. Is this something public they can point to push back? And then they're like, no, we'll just let this go a couple months later. Quick break for the rest of the day. We'll see you tomorrow on the Financial Exchange.